Hello everyone, we are back again for another incredible workshop just for you bearded men and the women and men who love them. I am Benny Mayberry and I am the founder of Smart Beard. And tonight we're talking about a topic that is really important to discuss because it's not being discussed in many places. And that is understanding beard dyeing. You know, beard dyeing has been around, well, dyeing in general has been around for decades. But as beards has become more popular over the last 5 to 10 years, so has beard dyeing. But the problem is bearded men don't have any clue on how to do beard dyeing the right way. That's why I'm here. And before you just go to CVS or to Walmart and just pick any product off the shelves like Just for Men, I'm going to walk you through the different types of beard dyes and dyes on the market, when to use them, how to use them, and even how to go about doing beard enhancements, which became a whole big topic in and of itself. So if you guys are ready, I'm ready. Let's go ahead and dive right in it and let's get to learning. Now, well, actually, you know what? Before that, listen. I'm asking all of you to please share this live stream. Go ahead and hit that share button if you're watching it on Facebook. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe and comment. And I want to tell you, all your questions here are going to be answered. Towards the end of this workshop, I'll open up the floor for questions and answers. But go right on ahead and post your questions in the comments in the live chat. I will see those and I will make sure they get answered. So let's dive right in. Beard dyeing 101, what to know, how to use, what ingredients to look out, and how to do it the right way. So really, quite frankly, I want all of you all to know this, that there are 5 main different types of hair dyes on the market just for beards. Well, I shouldn't say just for beards because they're really just 5 basic types of hair dyes in general. You and your barber, they may use any, combination of these, but it's important to know the differences and know when to use a certain type of beard dye and why. And I may say beard dye a lot, that's because I'm talking to you bearded men, but remember these dyes are used across women, men, hair, facial hair, the whole works. So there are 5 different types of beard dyes and dyes in general: permanent, demi-permanent, semi-permanent, henna, and temporary. And I'm going to give you a basic understanding of each one of those. Permanent dyes, they're pretty much straightforward. These are dyes that change the natural pigment of your hair and they're going to do it permanently. They provide like the best coverage for gray beards and for gray all around even color. And while they do fade over time, they're never going to wash out. So you don't have to worry about, if you dye it gray, if you dye it black and your beard is gray, you don't have to worry about it turning back black. This is permanent. Permanent dyes typically use like hydrogen peroxide or ammonia to penetrate the hair. And this is really important. Permanent dyes penetrate your beard hairs and deposit the color. The ammonia and the peroxide opens up the cuticle so that the color can go inside of the hair and give it its color. And it penetrates really super deeply, and this is why it's really great for grays. Now, demi-permanent dyes, I know a lot of you may not have heard of demi-permanent, but demi-permanent is like a step under permanent dyes. These work differently though than permanent dyes. Instead of depositing hair deep into the hair, they basically wrap color around the hair and only penetrate the outer layers. And because of that, this is kind of more of a temporary dye, and it only lasts about 3 to 4 weeks, depending on how you wash your beard. Generally about 24 to 28 washes is generally about how much they will last. It's important to understand that whereas permanent dyes are using ammonia or hydrogen peroxide, that demi-permanent dyes is either using two different compounds. One is called hydroxyl p-phenyldiamine sulfate or pyrethylamine diamide sulfate. I know those are big long words, you're not going to remember it. But here's the thing. If you are looking for a demi-permanent dye, a lot of times they're not going to be on the box, so you have to look at the ingredients to know if it's going to be a permanent or demi-permanent. And don't worry, I'm going to give you this information on the screen. Now, next is semi-permanent dyes. Semi-permanent dyes, they're even more temporary than demi-permanent dyes. These dyes are typically going to stay on your hair maybe about 1 to 2 days or 3 to 6 washes. These are super temporary. They use some of the same technology that demi-permanent dyes use, but they don't even like penetrate. They just really sit on top of the surface of your hair. So they're really temporary, and this is going to be, you'll mostly see semi-permanent stuff like in root cover-up sprays that women use, or temporary hair dyes, like if you're going out for Halloween and you want to make your beard red. Those are kind of like temporary hair dyes, and we're going to get more into that. So we got permanent, demi, semi, and now going to more of the natural alternatives is henna. Now, you may be familiar with henna dyes, especially like if you see people who get like henna tattoos. This is basically the same concept and pretty much the same. Henna uses natural pigments that come from like indigo and tree barks to give hair its color. It's chemical free, so that's really, really good if you're trying to go more natural. But typically with henna dyes, they don't give you the same kind of coverage with like semi or demi-permanent dyes, especially if you're trying to cover up gray hairs. You know, that's not really the dye to go to. And also another thing is that hennas take a lot of applications to achieve certain type of colors that is not available in all types of shades. Right next to, let's see, we got permanent, demi, hemi, henna. Right next to that is temporary. Now temporary dyes, those are very similar to like application like henna, or I should say semi-permanent, where it's like a dye that sits on top of your hair. But the great thing about it is this is like super permanent. So we're talking about gone in one wash. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, especially as we dive into what type of dyes you want to use in your hair. So with these 5 different mix, I'm going to tell you something. Permanent hair dyes, don't want to use permanent dyes on your beard at all. While they're really great for covering up your grays, they use ammonia to do this. And in general, this may be really good for your scalp hair, but this is not the type of stuff that you want to use on your facial hair. Ammonia can be really damaging to your facial hair. And also something to remember is that permanent dyes, they need a lot of touch-ups. Like as your hair grows out, you're gonna, let's say I had a full gray beard. When I use a permanent dye, it's gonna be black. But then as the new growth come out, the new growth is going to be gray. Therefore, you're going to need a lot of touch-ups. And those touch-ups with all that ammonia, you just don't want to be using that on your beard. And lastly, ammonia and permanent dyes can really leave your hair brittle, damaged, and then you have to start purchasing like conditioners with restorative proteins and ingredients and all this other craziness. And you just really don't want to get into that type of thing. You know, you don't want to spend all your money on that. So most men use demi-permanent dyes or semi-permanent dyes. And let me give you an example of what most demi and semi-permanent dyes look like. This image here, the Nutrice, this is a woman's hair dye. I've used it because there's not really a lot of permanent men's dye because we just don't use it. Nutrice Ultra Hair Color, this is a permanent hair dye, excuse me. Right next to it, you see Just for Men. Just for Men, that's a very common hair dye for men. It is demi-permanent, and if you remember about demi-permanent, it doesn't use ammonia, it's usually ammonia-free. It uses chemicals to help coat the surface levels of your beard. Just for Men is very popular. Also, another one that's really popular, especially in ethnic groups like African Americans, is Beijing. We're going to talk a little bit more about that, but Just for Men and Beijing are both demi-permanent dyes, and this is typically what most bearded men will be using, or even your barbers. And like I said, demi-permanent doesn't use ammonia or hydrogen peroxide for the most part. They last about 3 to 5 weeks, or about 20 to 30 washes. Now, what's really good about these demi-permanent dyes is that they're temporary, so they are eventually going to fade out. So if you're not committed to having a black hair, if you're naturally gray and you want to go black, but you don't want to be committed to being black, then using a demi-permanent dye is the way to go. And the great thing about it is permanent dyes, they're going to naturally fade away over time, but as they're fading, they do it really gradually, so it kind of looks natural as it's kind of fading. It doesn't look like one day you're gray, or one day you're black, and then next day you're automatically back to gray. It's kind of a gradually fading. And another great thing about demi-permanent dyes is that they're pretty easily to apply. You'll see this a lot like with 5-minute hair dyes. They'll either be in a powdered or a liquid format, and they usually require little mixing. So remember, for most men, you're not using permanent dyes, you're mostly using demi dyes, and that's your Just for Men's and your Beijing's. Now, just because they're a little bit more softer on your skin as opposed to permanent dyes, that don't mean that you just want to be using demi dyes all the time, and we'll get real more in depth with that. Well, actually, no, let's just talk about it now. Why don't you want to use demi dyes all the time? Well, demi-permanent dyes can sometimes contain an ingredient that's known as paraphenyldiamide, or PPD. PPD is a very known irritant, and if you ever used Just for Men and you had like an allergic reaction, or you had like what feels like a chemical burn, that's the PPD happening in real time. PPD, a clinical study has shown that 6 to 10% men who use like Just for Men, they typically can have allergic reactions. In fact, there is a huge lawsuit, class action lawsuit, that has been done on Just for Men because of the amount of allergic reactions that you see in men. And as a guy who owns a beard brand, I get people all the time asking me about Just for Men and alternatives that they can use because of that PPD. Now, there are safer versions of Just for Men that you can use, and I'll make some recommendations a little bit later. So while Just for Men is super cheap, you don't want to use this all the time, but demi-permanent dyes like Just for Men or Beijing is what you typically want to use. Now, if you're going to use semi-permanent dyes, like we talked about earlier, semi-permanent dyes, that's where you start getting into the beard enhancements. So let's talk about what we've learned so far. We learned that there's 5 different types of beard dyes: permanent, semi-permanent, demi, henna, and temporary. We've learned that permanent dyes you don't want to use, and that you do want to use demi dyes like Just for Men and Beijing, but you also have learned that you don't want to overdo it with these because of PPD, which could create allergic reactions. Now, over-the-counter dyes like Just for Men, those are okay, but there are much more greater alternatives, and we're going to go more into depth with that. So now we're going to talk a little bit about beard enhancements. Oh, Lord Jesus. Beard enhancements. Now, you see it all the time. You're seeing men using beard dyes to give their beard a really filled-in look. You see it all the time. Sometimes it looks like painted, like somebody took some paint or took some shoe dye and just covered your beard, and it makes your beard looks full, but it makes your beard look like it's been, slathered with paint. If you do it right, it looks good, but that depends if you know how to do it right. And your barbers will typically use it. But again, if you're going to the barbershop every time to get these beard enhancements, I have some recommendations for you. So here's the thing with beard enhancements. Beard enhancements are used to not really even dye the hair. You're not even dyeing the hair with beard enhancements. With the goal of beard enhancements, you really are trying to tint the skin under the beard to make your beard appear fuller. And that's the problem with beard enhancements. Beard dyes are not meant to tint the skin. In fact, they're formulated to not tint the skin. And you'll see this a lot, like if you see in the directions of your beard dyes where it tells you to put like Vaseline or petroleum jelly on your skin to protect your skin from dye going other places. Dyes are not meant to tint the skin. But with beard enhancements, what barbers and what people are doing is that they'll use like Beijing on their beards, and they'll keep it on their beard much longer than what's necessary. Typically, beard dyes are meant to stay on your face maybe 10 to 20 minutes, no longer than that. But when you go to the barber and you ask them to put Beijing's or beard enhancements on your beard, what is happening is that the barber is likely keeping that hair dye on your skin up to like an hour. And I've had barbers tell me specifically, don't even wash it out, just keep it on your skin. Because if you don't wash it out, it's gonna really make that hairline and look really sharp. Brothers, this is the worst practice that you can do when using beard dyes, mainly because, like we talked about earlier, semi-permanent and demi-permanent dyes a lot of times will have PPD in them, and PPD is what's causing those chemical burns and those allergic reactions. So if you are a frequent person of Beijing or using or trying to get that fresh, crisp hairline look on your beard, there are better alternatives to do it, but you don't necessarily want to use dyes for that. Now, I will tell you this, as a person that has used Beijing a lot, it's okay to maybe use it once every now and then. And what I mean by that is, like, let's say you're getting ready to get married and you want to make sure you're looking real nice and fresh for your wedding, or you're going to a big fancy event and you really like let's say the Oscars or the Academy Awards or something, and you really want to look good. Okay, yeah, you're using Beijing is good, but here's the thing: you want to make sure that you're washing it out and that you're not keeping it in, and you want to make sure that you're just not walking around 3 and 4 days with unwashed beard dye on your skin. That's not the way to do it. In fact, let me pull this up for you. Let's do this here. All right. So I want you to look at this screen right here. As you can see on the right side of this image, I have a picture of Topic and a image of a beard pen, which is basically, let's be real, it's basically mascara. It's basically mascara, or if not mascara, it's usually mascara or eyeshadow. Listen, I'm gonna tell you like something that I do anytime that I really want to achieve that nice, hard line on my beard. Using an eyeline pencil or using Topic on your beard. If you never use Topic, it's basically like keratin fibers that you spray onto your beard to kind of fill in those patches and allow you to achieve that nice crisp hairline. It washes out. You just spray a little bit of hairspray on it to keep it in place, and it washes right out. It's made with keratin, which is natural, and it makes your beard look really, really good. In addition, don't feel bad about if you want to use a eyebrow pencil to slightly make a line here across your hairline and then brush it out to even it out. That is a much better way to achieve that Beijing look without actually using hair dye. And the great thing is it'll wash right out. It's usually made with ingredients that are made for your face, so that's good. And you're gonna be able to achieve the same type of results. So, beard Beijings and dyeing that and trying to achieve that crisp line with Beijing, stop the trends. Please stop the trend. And I'm saying this as someone who has done it myself. Please stop the trend, because you have to keep those dyes on your face much longer than what's necessary, and you can break out your skin, you can cause blisters. I've even seen where people have experienced disfigurement because of these scars left behind by these dyes are actually causing people to get their skin to get infected, and those infections leads to scars. You don't want all that stuff, so don't even use it. All right. Now, as we move on along here, I want to show you something. I'm going to go back to my slide here. So we talked a little bit about the differences between permanent, semi, and demi dyes. We talked about henna a little bit. We talked about best practices for using for using beard enhancements. Now I want to talk to you a little bit about how to do beard dyeing the right way. First of all, I want to say is you don't have to use just for men. You are not limited to using just for men. You do want to use a demi dye, a demi-permanent hair dye, but you don't have to use just for men. There are better options, and I'm going to show you some of those options here. All right. Simpler is a great hair dye. I love Simpler. Simpler is a little on the expensive side. So like with with like just for men, you're probably only paying like between like $5 to $8, $5 on a good day, $8 on a bad day. With Simpler, you're paying a lot more for that. But with Simpler, what I love about Simpler is that it is a demi-permanent hair dye, but they formulated it really, really well for skin use. So if you're trying to achieve let's say you got gray hairs and you're trying to achieve that black look again, or whatever color, whether you're brown or blonde, redheads, whatever color you are, Simpler's formulations are super, super gentle. And what I love about them is that it's like a foam dye. So once you spray it in your hair, it's almost like a foam. So you don't have to do all this mixing and matching like how you do with like Beijing and other stuff. It's really just a foam dye that it comes with a brush applicator, and you can just brush it right through your hair. It includes a lot of oils and a lot of what they call humectants and sealing ingredients, so that it can kind of counteract kind of the harshness that dyes do on your beard. And the great thing about Simpler is that Simpler, with one package of Simpler, you can usually get about I think up to 20 dyeing sessions within one bottle. So listen, this one Simpler pack could really last you like, depending, let's say you dye your beard like once a month, this could literally last you the whole entire year. So while it is expensive, it is a much better demi-permanent dye to use. The second one I would recommend is Madison Reed's Hell Curler for Men. Now, this particular color is a demi-permanent, but it almost ventures off into the permanent side of things. So with this formula, it is a formula that you do need to mix. However, what I really like about Madison Reed's hair dye is that it's been formulated specifically for men's skin, so it includes a lot more oils than, let's say, a Just for Men will. So when you use it, it's really soothing and conditioning your beard at the same time as it's applying that beard oil. It is a little bit more on, that beard dye, excuse me. It is a little bit more on the pricier side, it's about 20 bucks. And this one will only get you about, if I can remember correctly, about 5 to 10 uses. But there's another thing that I really like it, and I want to point you to this slide here, is that that Madison hair color uses a system called PTDS. It's a PTDS type system, which is a lot more sensitive to making your skin, or not breaking your skin out or giving you those chemical burns or contact dermatitis or even scarring your face. You're not gonna have to worry about that with these type of beard, both of these beard dyes, but definitely with the Madison one. So you got Simpler, that's $45, and you got Madison, that is $20. They're much more expensive, but the technology behind them is much more better for your face. Now, I'm gonna go back to this slide here. I wanna talk a little bit about alternatives to using any chemicals. And we talked about henna dyes a little bit earlier, but let's go into a little bit depth. Henna dyes has been around for about it's been around for a really long time, but it's starting to get popular with men over the last 5 to 6 years. Henna dyes, again, these are all plant-based dyes, and the way that you use it is it's really interesting because it's a really thick paste. I mean, this stuff, this stuff is super thick. It's not easy to apply. It's almost like putting mud onto your skin. If you look it up on YouTube, it's really fascinating. You mix up the henna dye with water and a few other ingredients, and you paste it onto your beard like almost like mud. And you keep that mud on there for almost typically it's about 3 hours if you don't have a lot of grays, but if you have a lot of grays, you're talking about keeping that stuff on your beard for like 4 to 6 hours. So this is something that you don't want to use, when you're trying to go before work and trying to get that 5-minute dye. This is something you definitely want to use on the weekend. And another thing about henna dyes is that a lot of times they take multiple applications to cover your grays. So if you got a really super gray beard, I'm telling you, you're gonna be doing like 2 sessions or even 3 sessions of 4 hours each to really get that good coverage. Now the great thing about it again is it's chemical free, so this is all natural, but you're gonna have to do a lot of applying to get results. Now, when we go into like we mentioned before about the beard enhancement stuff, hennas are not really good for like tinting the skin. You think of hennas like the ones that you may see like for here in California, you go to Venice and you see people doing henna tattoos. This is not the same stuff that people are doing henna tattoos with. It's similar, but it's not the same stuff. So it's not really gonna tint your skin and give you that block look that like a Beijing would if you're doing beard enhancements, but it will kind of tint the skin temporarily for maybe a day or two. So, and another thing to know about henna dyes is that if you got light hair or you got blonde or red hairs, henna can be really hit and miss across all colors, and they don't have a lot of different colors available. So if you're really focused on color matching your beards and you want to go natural, you're going to have to experiment with henna. Another thing about henna is once you use henna, you can't go back to like using a demi or a permanent hair dye until the henna has completely worn off, and that could take like literally a month or 2. So there are a lot of downsides to using henna tattoos, but henna dyes. But if you're trying to go chemical free, that's the way to go. And like I said, if you want to use beard enhancements, use your Topics or use your mascara pens to get you the help that you need. So let's recap here. All right, let's go all the way back to the beginning here, and let me get me up here on the screen. Using beard dyes, it is a super chemically laced process. It can hurt your skin, it can do bad for your skin, but if you use it in the right ways, you can eliminate some of that stuff. Out of the 5 different types of hair dyes, which is permanent, demi, semi, henna, and temporary tattoos, you don't want to be using permanent dyes. And for the most part, you're going to be wanting to use demi-permanent dyes. Demi-permanent dyes work by coating the surface levels or the surface layers of your hair with dyes, and they don't wash out easily. They usually take about 4 to 6 weeks or about 20 to 30 beard washes, so they're really good for kind of like a month-long usage, but they're not going to give you that permanent results like a permanent dye will. With demi-permanent dyes, you don't have to resort to using Just for Men, because Just for Men contains PPD, and like I mentioned before, PPD is highly irritating on your skin and can give you allergy reactions to it and can even lead to scarring. So if you don't want to use Just for Men and you're willing to pay a little bit more to go for quality, the best type of demi-permanent dyes for men is going to be a brand called Simpler, or you're going to use, I'm going to pull it up here for you guys so you can see it. You're going to use Simpler, or you're going to use Madison. And let me go here so I can, boom, here we go. You're gonna use Simpler or Madison. Where did it go? Where did it go? Where did it go? And boom, there we go. Simpler or Madison hair dyes. These are demi-permanent dyes. They are super gentle on the skin, and they're formulated just for beards to make sure that you're not damaging the skin under it. Madison, another demi-permanent dye, I definitely recommend that to you. And then when it comes to using beard enhancements, I know you guys love, and I mean truly love, the sharp lines that beard enhancement gets you. But just remember, your barber or yourself are typically using demi-permanent dyes, and you have to let those dyes sit on your skin way past the recommended 20 minutes, and sometimes people don't even wash it off. And because of that practice, I don't recommend that you do the typical Beijing or beard enhancement dyes. Instead, focus on using more temporary solutions like using mascara or eyeliners to give you that hard, line look, and then you just brush it in so that it can kind of blend in, so it don't look like you just got a whole bunch of eyeliner on your beard. But when you brush it in, it looks really, really succinct. So start with the beard enhancement stuff. I will caveat that, Steph. I will caveat it and say, one-time occasions is okay. But if you're the type of person who's like, every time you go to the barber, you're getting Beijing, put it on your face, just stop it. Now, some barbers with the beard enhancement stuff, they will use semi-permanent dyes, and that stuff is like, you'll see like barbers who've used airbrushing on your beard. That stuff is a little bit safer because it's semi-permanent and it's meant to be used for like one time and kind of wash it off. But at the end of the day, you're gonna want to just like not use any of that stuff and maybe use more temporary stuff that's sitting on your skin, and you can just wash it right on off. If you do these things and you be more conscious about them, you will in turn allow your beard to grow better. You'll keep yourself from getting ingrowns and the brittle breakage that comes with beard dyes. And one thing I didn't mention, if you are blonde or redhead, honestly, you're not gonna be wanting to use beard dyes really anyway, because if you're like, for instance, let's say you darken your beard, you go from a red to a black. The only way to go back to your natural red is to cut your beard off or to bleach it back, and you don't want to do bleaching. That stuff is just going to break your beard off, and most men don't want to do all the hassle that takes with that comes with maintaining a colored and bleached beard. You don't even want to handle all that. So if you do those things successfully, I am telling you, your beard you will take care of your skin a lot better. Your beard will thank you. You will stop messing up your skin with all these dyes and using Beijing the wrong way, using all this hair stuff. You'll get rid of those grays. You'll be able to be more confident about your beard, but do it in a way that's a lot more healthy. Now, I want to open up this time if you have any questions. I am monitoring the chats. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot it. And while we're getting ready for that, I want to make a quick reference. If you are interested in using any of our beard products, great thing about Smart Beard is that our products are really great for colored beards, and I will tell you why. A lot of our beard oil, our beard balm, they all contain different types of ceramides and proteins that is good for preserving and restoring and healing dyed beard hairs. So our beard oil and balm is really, really great for that. Even our beard shampoo is really lightweight. It doesn't strip your beard, but also it works in a way that it doesn't strip beard color really easily. So our whole entire kit is usually around $110. You can get it 40% off today if you use the coupon code WORKSHOP40. So go ahead and log on to www.smartbeard.com and go ahead and get your beard game on point. And I see that we don't have any more questions, so I hope that this video was really helpful to you. If you have any more questions, feel free to instant message me or direct message me on Instagram or on Facebook. My handle is trysmartbeard.com, and I will get your beard answers questions. Now, next week, we're going to be talking about how to use certain products for oily skin, and more specifically, beard products. A lot of times, what a lot of guys do is that they just slather beard oils and beard balms on their beard, and they already have oily skin under their beards. So what happens with that is a lot of times the product, along with your natural oils mixed together with dirt from the outside and bacteria on the outside, and actually can make your beard worse. So I'm going to teach you what ingredients to use and what type of beard oils and products if you have oily skin. And if you don't know if you have oily skin, come on and join us, because I'm going to show you how to self-diagnose yourself, whether you have dry skin, oily skin, combination skin, sensitive skin, and really how to diagnose so you know what to use. Before I leave, I have a question here from Ed. Will I be coming out with a beard dye? Well, I will tell you this. Yes, but it's a matter of when. Formulating beard dyes, or just dyes in general, it's truly an art, and it's a technique. I have considered that we come out with our own line of henna dyes, but there is a lot already on the market, and coloring is one of those things that you really need to be prepared for, from the legalities and all kinds of things. It's a lot that goes into it. So I would probably say be on the outlook, Ed. We may have one coming out this year. I would definitely have been working with our team of formulators to figure out what we want to do on that part. But there's a lot of other products coming out with Smart Beard that's even before we even looking at a beard dye. So just stay tuned. But again, if I definitely recommend using Simpler or Madison's. And again, like I said, if you are looking for some beard products, go ahead and log on right now to smartbeard.com and use the 40% discount code to get your beard together today. Well, guys, I am coming to the end of this workshop. I am so glad that you guys joined us and that you are here. And I ask you to please like and share, and come back next Tuesday. I'm going to be here every Tuesday giving you beard knowledge. So come on back next Tuesday. I will be right here teaching you about how to use products for oily skin. Right after that, we have a great workshop that's going to talk about fatty acids in oil, understanding how to pick certain oils by their fatty acid profiles specifically for your skin. That may sound really, really sciencey, but I'm telling you, once you know this knowledge, your beard game is gonna go from here to here. So that's gonna be coming at the end of the month. But next week we'll be talking about oily skin. So brothers, I love you. Peace out. I hope that you and your family stay safe during this pandemic. It is no joke. Wear your mask. Don't play around with it. And I will see you next time.